Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming along this evening. So my name is Lara Gee, and as you can see on here, I'm the Programme Director for the BSc in Accountancy. So it's a very specialised programme that I'll talk to you about in a little while. My background is that I went to university and did a degree in, well, it's called European Studies, but essentially it was economics, politics, and French, which doesn't sound like it's got anything to do with accounting. But I got a job at PwC, and then I did a 3-year training contract with PwC after my degree. So when you hear about careers in accounting, I think one of the interesting things about accounting is there are so many different ways into it. So the way I did was a non-relevant degree and then an accountancy training contract, which is quite a common way of going in. But nowadays, there are many more options available to you to get your career kind of kick-started at an earlier stage than I did, for example. So lots to talk about and lots to think about. But I think probably first of all, as you're all business studies students, some of you are studying accounting. What could an accounting degree therefore contain within it? If you've, I know how to do double entry bookkeeping. What else is there to accounting? So we'll think about that a little bit. We'll also have a think about the future of accounting as a role. So there's a lot in the news and in the press about how AI is going to take everybody's job and how AI means there'll be no more accountants or lawyers in the future. And so let's think about how AI is going to impact roles. It certainly will have an impact on roles and careers within accounting, but I actually think it's good news for the profession, not bad news. So we'll take a thought around all of those areas as well as I go through my presentation. So I'm going to focus mainly on accountancy. I'm going to focus mainly on types of accountancy qualifications there are out there, but I am also open to more general kind of business questions if that's what you're interested in or what you think you need to know about. So let's just make a start. Just as part of my background as well. So I think when you're at school and at university, you think about going into business, which is fine, but there's a whole third sector out there that is also worth contemplating and thinking about as you're studying and as you're progressing through your career. And that is the public sector and charitable organisations. So after I'd worked at PwC, I did have a few years then at the Audit Commission, which is a national audit agency that audits things like hospital trusses, police forces, fire service. So all those different types of organisations that exist within our country and within our society that are important areas of our society also look to recruit individuals in accounting and business related jobs. So I would also be thinking very clearly about that as well when you're thinking about future careers and what you're going to be doing. All right, so I think the traditional view of an accountant is definitely this view. So middle-aged white man sat behind a desk talking to people, sometimes, but most of the time sat behind a computer with a calculator bashing through numbers. And really, I think that's probably what everyone if you say to someone, I want to be an accountant, they'll just say to you, oh, that's boring. It could not be further from the image of the truth. There are so many careers using accounting skills. And yes, you could become a partner in practice. That is definitely one route that you could go down. But there are so many more careers available to you, particularly when you look at the large accountancy firms, so the mid-tier and the larger ones. So, for example, I mentioned PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC.
Your microphone has gone off. Thank you,
Yeah,
Lara.
that was strange. I don't know why that decided to do that. Has it been off a long time?
No,
No, good. I was talking to myself for ages there.
Thank you.
Organisations like PwC have got audit sections, of course they have, but there's auditing, there's tax, there's quite a new area called forensic accounting, which is where you investigate maybe serious fraud. You take fraud cases to court. So you're working, maybe a big company has gone under and the directors are under scrutiny as to why that organization's gone wrong. So there's those types of things. There's accounting in deals and mergers. So one company buying another company, that can be international. So companies from around the world are buying other companies from around the world. And all of these roles require accounting knowledge and accounting skills to have a successful career within them. So yes, going into an accounting firm does mean you're getting a training contract, becoming a chartered accountant potentially, but that will then lead to so many different routes of careers of whatever you're interested in. So what you're probably mainly doing at A level is what I would call bookkeeping with some management and financial accounting in there. And bookkeeping forms the basis of our accounting knowledge. So when you're studying accountancy at A level, actually is a really good A level to have, because it gives you a very good grounding in your debits and your credits and how to produce a set of accounts. And I do find students that come into university with an accounting A level do really get a lot out of their first year, because they've already clicked with the debits and credits, because can take a while to do that. But with all accounting degrees, not just the accounting degree at the University of Nottingham, they will assume zero knowledge. So if you haven't got accounting A level, it certainly does not mean you can't do an accounting degree. Okay, so in a similar way, if you haven't got an economics A level, that does not mean you cannot do an economics degree, potentially, depending on the requirements of the course. Haven't got law A level does not mean you can't do a law degree. So don't count out degrees just because you haven't done the A level in it. There are many universities that will take you from scratch and build you up as you go through your profession. The reason this is quite helpful to pick out is because I think some of you might probably be thinking about apprenticeship. Why my microphone is muting there. You're thinking about apprenticeships as well as university. So if you're looking at apprenticeships as well as university, it's very helpful to think about what that apprenticeship is offering you and what it means when it starts spurting all these letters at you. CIMA, ACCA, ACCA, and you're listening to all these letters thinking, what on earth are they talking about? So let's think about what they're talking about. So the management accounting side of things is very much internal to an organization, how an organization manages its money, how it manages its funds, how it budgets for future expenses, how it can become more profitable, what its future trends are. So that would be very much management accounting. And you've probably seen the acronym CIMA, which is the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. So normally, if you go to an accountancy firm, it is not CIMA that will be offered to you. And I say normally because there are some programs that will offer that. But generally speaking, if you're looking at maybe a large organization, organizations like the NHS often sponsor people through CIMA. That is what that is talking about, the management accounting side of things. If you go down the route of the management accounting qualification, it's an excellent qualification, but you will never be able to sign off a set of accounts. It does not train you in that area. So if you think you want to own a practice, if you think you want your own company, then you need to be thinking really about ACCA and my qualification, which is the ACA, which is the ICAW qualification. Alternatively, you could start and do a level 4 qualification, which is something called the AAT, which is the Association of Accounting Technicians, and then maybe go on to further study within the organisation that you're in. But accounting and accounting qualifications, the reason they're different is because they're going to focus on different areas. So do just have that in mind when you're looking at the exemptions that degrees are offering, when you're looking at the qualification that an apprenticeship might be giving you. That's what it's focusing on, and that's the route that your career will be taking. Okay. We've mentioned a bit already about the other careers within accounting, so I won't go through that slide again. Okay, so I think what's really important is about the future of accounting. So I was in a meeting yesterday, and one of the partners from PwC came in, a senior partner within the Midlands region. He now leads the UK on deals and advisory. So that's that area of accounting where you're buying and selling businesses. And he went to Harvard and had an AI course at Harvard just this summer. And he said it was incredible. So he put on the virtual reality glasses and he went into a virtual reality computer, and through this computer numbers were flying all around him, and the computer was testing all of the different numbers, all of the different transactions, and highlighting to him where there was a problem, so he could literally put his hand up and pull down the transaction where there was an issue and see all of the anomalies. Now, in the old days, we would have had to have gone through thousands and thousands of records to find the difficult transactions. Now, the computer is processing millions and billions in minutes. So, what it's actually doing for future accountants is actually getting rid of a lot of the dull stuff that you do as a younger, generally earlier on in your career accountant, and taking you straight into the interesting stuff, which is okay, here are the problems, here are the things that are going wrong. Let's discuss this with the client, let's find out what the background to this is, and let's make this work going forward. And so you're doing the interesting stuff rather than all the calculations behind the scenes and all the testing behind the scenes. It's all there done for you. And obviously, technology's come on. I can't believe phones used to look like that. I remember my dad having one of these in his car, this brick, and then my grandma had one of those phones. So the phone technology has come on, and that's in the same way. We can't recognize now what AI has done to accounting compared to the old-fashioned image of an accountant sat there with a computer working through. And this Moore's law is becoming so true, where we're getting to a stage really of technology advancing so quickly we can barely keep up for it. And we're almost in that kind of upper quartile now where technology is superseding us. So today I was speaking to some students that have just done A levels. Obviously, they're in their first year of their degree, and they're very curious about AI and how AI can help them, how they're allowed to use AI at university. So at university now we do have a system called Copilot that you can use, and it will literally answer any question that you give it within 10 seconds. And that's great, except sometimes I'll set it a question and it will answer it wrong. Okay. So this is where we start to kind of pick up on the skills that you guys are going to need going forward. You won't necessarily need an amazing memory because information is everywhere. What you will need is a critical mind to understand which information is relevant and which information you can rely on to make your decisions and move forward. So critical thinking is something that we talk about a lot at university and as part of your university education. So even if we kind of step away from the world of business and we step into the world of politics, at the moment there seems to be a big trend of politicians just saying absolutely anything, and masses of people will believe them without anybody checking facts. We're almost in a post-truth society. So what you need as a skill set is, okay, somebody has said this. Does this mean it's right? No, not necessarily. Equally, it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, but you are aware there's an alert button in your head that this is something that needs investigating further. And as accountants, we call that professional skepticism. So we listen to people, we think about what they're saying, and then we go and work out if what they're saying is correct. And what you'll be hearing from me is actually a lot of these skills haven't got anything. I haven't spoken about numbers yet, have I? I haven't spoken about being good at maths. It's a complete falsehood that you need to be good at maths to become a good accountant. You need to be comfortable with numbers and you need to not be terrified of them and absolutely having hated GCSE maths. but you certainly do not need to be one of those really clever kids that sits in maths A level. And we all know them. They don't even seem to be listening to the teacher, and yet when they sit an exam, they get 100%. You do not need to be that type of mathematician to become an accountant. You need to be ratios, percentages, fractions, very basic algebra, and it does not get more complex than that. Okay. One area of kind of mathematical, if you like, reasoning that is still important is around data and data analytics. So I don't know if any of you are doing any science A levels at all, but what you'll see is you'll start to build on statistical analysis, on data, on how good data is, on how reliable your data is, on how good the tests that have been set up to produce the data that reports are being written on becomes really important. And as we're using AI more and more, AI is scanning the internet looking for sources of information. You need to be pretty sure that those sources are robust before making recommendations to clients, before making decisions for your business, in order for success. So data analytics will become increasingly important. And actually at the University of Nottingham, we do have data analysis from the first year throughout your studies to get you at a stage where you're going to be able to use that in your career. And actually data analytics is important now in marketing. It's important in human resource management just as much as it is in accounting. So data analytics, if you're looking at areas in business that you think you might need a skill set in, or you're thinking an area that you might, how do I stand out from the crowd? This is a really important area that I would suggest you start to read around and become interested in. Okay. So behind data analytics, obviously, is the big data. And as I've explained, what we have now as siren going past, as AI is really simplifying the processes for us, but making it more and more important that you are able to pick up skills from your education, doing things like presentation skills, team working, resilience. So when something goes wrong, you don't just shout at everybody, you reflect, you work out where it's gone wrong, how it's gone wrong, who to ask to get things to go right. And so a university education is really starting to pack these skills into your armory, ready for your future careers. I think above any other students that I've been speaking to, even within the last 5 years, things have changed so much. What you're going to need throughout your career is an ability to keep on relearning, because things are progressing so quickly. And the core skills that you need to do that are these things like the resilience, like the team working, like the presentation skills to help keep you going up and up and up as you go through your career. Okay. Just going to go through some of these because I know I'm just looking at the time, and wanted to speak to you a little bit about some of the courses that we've got at our university. Okay. So at the university, we've obviously got our academic modules, we've got our professional modules, and we've got our personal self-development modules that you will develop throughout your time at university and with us. And our courses focus on management and the environment that you're operating in. So the degree that I manage and look after is called BSc Accountancy. So it's N410 on UCAS if you are interested in this. But if you're somebody that's thinking about, oh, I want to go to university, but actually I want to get on and I want to get an apprenticeship, this degree is absolutely brilliant at kind of giving you the best of both worlds. So this degree is written by the University of Nottingham. It's sponsored by PwC, and the ICAW controls the content of the degree that we're writing. So ICAW, remember, is the Institute of Chartered Accountants. So that's a prestigious chartered accountancy qualification within the UK. I don't know if you noticed at the beginning of the lecture, I've got the letters FCA after my name. That is because I am a chartered accountant and I'm allowed to use those letters after my name. So that's what ICAW gives you. That is the kind of the more the financial accounting side that I was talking about, where you could go into practice, you could go into business, you can sign off accounts if you want to. You've got all those different careers within accounting that you might consider with that qualification. And then PwC are also involved, and what PwC do is they give you a paid placement in years 2, 3, and 4 of your degree. So by the end of the degree, which is a 4-year degree, you will have done a year's worth of placement as part of that degree, and you will have done basically your foundation, all of your foundation and all of your intermediate studies for your chartered accountancy. So when I said I finished my degree and then I did a 3-year training contract with PwC, when you graduate on this degree, within the first 3 months of your graduation, you will have finished all of your chartered accountancy exams. So you'll graduate in the July. By the November of that same year, all of your exams will have been sat. You won't have to sit any exams ever again. And then you've just got to do until the end of September to get all of your workplace ticked so that you can become a fully qualified chartered accountant. And what my final year students are worrying about at the moment is they are going to be going into their full-time PwC job next year, because you also get a job with PwC at the end of it. So if you pass this degree, they will give you a job. They won't use the word guarantee, but let's put it this way: for the last 3 years, 100% of graduates have got a job with PwC, and that's just since I've been there. So I think it's been 100% ever, unless you don't want to, obviously. So PwC give you those paid placements. If you have to work overtime on that, you're paid overtime. So students do quite well out of it, actually. But you're working and you're studying, so you're getting a university place, you're getting your work experience, and you're nearly fully qualified once you've left university. The other degree that you might be interested in if you're doing business and accounting type modules is our more generalist degree, which is the BSc in Finance, Accounting and Management. So the advantage of this degree compared to the Flying Start degree is that if you're not certain you want to be an accountant, then this degree offers you more flexibility and more optionality in the modules that you might choose and select. So you can, as you can see, if you look at the screen, it's accredited by ICAW, which is the body that accredits the accountancy degree, but also you've got CIMA, the management accounting, the ACCA, the financial accounting, the CIPFA, which is the public finance accountants. So there's lots of different accreditation that goes with that degree. And if you prefer more of the management type modules, so marketing, all of those types of things, then you've got more scope to study a broader range of business subjects in this degree. And on top of that, it's only a 3-year degree, it's not a 4-year degree. So quite a few students on this degree course will actually do a placement year as well. So they turn it into a 4-year degree, but it's not something that you have to do. On my accountancy degree, you have to go off to the placements to continue on the programme. So if you like a bit more flexibility, then Finance, Accounting and Management is a really good degree to be thinking about, but you don't get as much accreditation and you don't get the guaranteed work that you would on the accountancy degree. Another really popular degree at the business school is the BSc in Industrial Economics. So this is an interesting economics degree because it's not in the School of Economics. It's actually an economics degree in the business school. And so what it does is it applies economics a lot more to business. And as you can see, people who graduate go not only, they do get economics roles if they want them, but they also go into accounting, marketing, operations management, because they've done so many different modules at university that relate in between economics and business. And so it gives a real wide kind of berth of things that might be done. but it does have that core specialism of economics. So if you're somebody, I know my daughter absolutely loved economics A level. If you're someone that absolutely loves economics and you know economics is for you, actually this degree is a really interesting kind of side compared to a traditional economics degree, because you'll find it's much more applied and much more relevant to business than many of the economics degrees that can become quite theoretical. So I would recommend looking at this alongside a more traditional economics degree if that's your train of thought. Okay. So our BSc Management and International Management, so those are the most kind of generalist of all the degrees. They have got a bit of CIMA, a bit of ACCA accreditation, but not really much. You're really open. I think a lot of other universities would call this a business and management degree. That's essentially what it is. It's very free flowing. You can choose the modules that you like. So a lot of students on this degree end up really enjoying marketing, for example, and so will choose a big weighting of their modules to be in marketing and areas like that. And so you can kind of design your own degree, essentially, is what happens if you join your BSc Management. On the same kind of, it's the same program, but it's a year longer, is the BSc International Management. And in this degree, it's not a year longer, sorry, it's still a 3-year degree, but in this degree, you do your second year at one of our other campuses, so either China or Malaysia campuses. So at the open day, there's some amazing videos about students that have been, I've particularly seen the Malaysia ones. It looks absolutely stunning. So they'll do some of their studying abroad without having lost a year, and still get an internationally recognised degree as well. Okay. Just a note on apprenticeship. So you will get lots of apprenticeships in accounting. PwC does not offer an accounting apprenticeship anymore. They prefer you to get a degree either with them through this Flying Star, or get a degree and then come in and study. But there are many other accounting firms that do still offer an accounting route. Just the caveat I would say with the accounting level 7, although level 7 is the equivalent of a master's degree, what the accounting apprenticeships do not do is they do not confer a degree or a master's degree on you. So if you're looking at more of an international career, you will always be having to explain that you've got the equivalent of a degree or you've got the equivalent of a master's without actually having a degree or a master's degree, which is what puts quite a few people off doing their apprenticeship. So you'll have the professional qualification, but you won't have the degree and the master's. So do think about that carefully. If you are thinking, oh, I don't want skipping uni, what's the point in doing accounting finance degree when I know I'm going to go into accounting and finance? If you do it through an apprenticeship, you won't get that degree as well. So do just really have that in mind as you're thinking about what you're applying for. Okay. On top of that, many of the degrees on the programme will have placement years that you can opt into or not opt into. They're not pressured, except on my degree programme. Okay, so probably done enough talking there. I don't know whether we want to.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Lara. That's
half an hour goes
much
quite quickly, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely it does, but packed with information. And we've retained all of our students on the talk, so that's really, really good that you've encouraged them to stay and listen. And I think, as particularly, I think the reason I say that is that obviously we do have A-level students studying business, economics, that kind of those subjects in addition to the accounting students, and also doing maths who might be interested in finance. And actually, one of the questions that we'd had in advance was to do with using economics within the degree programs that you offer, and that generally, you know, move forward into a variety of finance careers. And that was really interesting, the weight that you gave to the way in which particularly that one degree actually applies the economics in a much sort of more practical and applied sense rather than in that theoretical sense that a lot of economics degrees. So I hope that's answered the question that one of our students had asked
I do
about.
think economics is an excellent subject because what it does is it gives you the context of business. So again,
Yeah,
as an accountant, nobody is ever going to ask me, how do you calculate goodwill? Because you'll all be sat there going, I don't even know what that is, what you're talking about. But what I will be asked is, what do the interest rates mean for my company? What will happen if taxes go up in this area? So it's the kind of the actually the context of accounting is just as important as the technical accounting knowledge
yeah.
itself when you're dealing with clients, when you're dealing with interactions with other people. So I really rate and value economics, actually A level and
Really,
as part of our
yeah,
degree. So we have a
that's
big
really thoughtful. Mm.
yeah, we have a big double module for all students in economics in our first year of our degree because we think it's
Right.
really important.
And from your perspective, does the University of Nottingham vary greatly from some of the other university programs that are available, do you know, within that sort of sphere?
Yeah, they all really differ greatly, and
Yeah.
I'm only speaking of this actually as a mum rather than as an
Mm.
economics expert because my daughter was looking at economics degrees. Some of them you need A-level maths, some of them you don't need A-level maths, some of them they offer in a BA, some offer in a
Yeah.
BSc. So if you do the more BA route, then you're likely, so the Bachelor of Arts, where you're more likely to have a lot more essay writing involved in your studies. Whereas if you do the BSc, the Bachelor of Science, then it's likely to be a lot more quant based numerical calculations. So you really got to look at them in the context of what you're good at and what you're interested in. And as I was saying, BSc Industrial Economics, specifically at Nottingham, is a very applied degree. So
Yeah.
you're applying your economics straight away into business, whereas a lot of other economics degrees, I don't know, you might do European uh, I don't know, European economics of farmers and agriculture as part of, so you can do really theoretical economics in some of the degrees. So it again depends on what you're interested in.
That's really interesting, and I think as well one of the other questions that we had, and please do students put some questions in the chat if you do have any additional ones, but we did have a number in advance, and one was to do with sort of work experience in advance of going on to consider both university and potentially apprenticeships, and some of those skills that you mentioned where some of the perhaps older fashioned skills in accounting
Mm.
and others of those like business marketing will have been stripped away potentially by AI, and actually work experience can very much I think use those and promote those skills. Have you got any advice on work experience and how you view that as obviously in your position within the university?
So, I mean, certainly to get on a university course, you don't need work experience. I mean, I think it helps when you're writing your personal statement because you've got things to draw on, but you certainly do not need to have work experience to get into university. But what I would say the good thing about work experience is it teaches you to have a boss, someone that you don't necessarily always agree with, but you've got to learn to work with them. And that's where I was talking about those skills that sit around technical knowledge, which are things like teamwork, which are things like ownership of issues. So sometimes I'll have a student in the first year and they'll say to me, oh, I don't understand any of this. Reteach me. And I'll say, no, 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 no. You go back and look over it again, think about it, try the questions I've suggested, and then come back to me with some specific questions. And it's that skill set that you learn at work. So if a manager gives you some work to do and you don't know how to do it, you don't just turn around to the manager and say, I can't do it, you do it. You try and work out how to do it, and then you go back to the manager saying, I'm not sure if I should do this or I should do that, and they will direct you, and you've owned your problem and you've owned your issue. And so I think work is really good at starting to get you to think like that. So you own your learning, you own your career. It's not somebody else's responsibility.
I mean, I know that Faye and I come across that quite a lot, and students at this stage very often, especially the year 12s, will come to us, as I'm sure many are online at the moment, thinking, I don't know what I want to do. But actually doing the initial research, coming up with some ideas, and then coming with that to a careers advisor, for instance, or as yourself in the university, I think those show a sense of maturity and an extra added skill. And the other one that you talked about was reflection. And I think that again comes with a bit of maturity. And I'd encourage all students with work experience to look for something where you can go along and you can sort of do some problem solving. This is an area that you're interested in. The problem solving, what could we have done? What went wrong? What could we have done better? And it's those kind of things, you know, where I think students can start to hone those skills. And although they aren't essential for applying to university, they are added skills that make them far more valuable together with the knowledge you will get.
Yeah, so when I was explaining was when I was listening to one of the senior partners from PwC talking to our students this week, and actually he keeps reflection as a very important part of his career development, and every year he asks himself, have I enjoyed this year? Am I still learning? And if he was to ever answer no to one of those questions, he would move on. But he reflects every year on what he's done, on what he wants to do, and takes opportunities and then reflects on where they went wrong, where they went well. And that's how his career has evolved.
That's super, and obviously the theoretical learning at university, many of the things that you explained about being involved in those courses, particularly, I was very interested in the development of the sort of the AI kind of thing. I think that from last year's talk that you gave to our students, things have developed rapidly, as you said, and they go on evolving, and to be a part of that is great, but we will need those extra skills. The other question that we had about apprenticeships, and you've actually spoken, I think, about particularly the PwC, but I would just encourage students, just from a college perspective, that as well as belonging to the business accounting and finance pathway, Faye and I run an alternatives to university, and students can belong to that as well as to their particular pathway that they're interested in. And the reason I would encourage students who are considering potentially either the PwC or Flying Start or an apprenticeship straight after college, I'd encourage you to join the pathway, because actually it is those skills that we are particularly looking at. Thank you, Faye. Faye's put a link there for any students interested, because those are particularly then looking more when you are leaving college rather than going to university and developing those, that some of that will already be expected to be there. And I think it's interesting, the balance that you mentioned about the PwC, Flying Start, and the apprenticeships at other companies. There is a level of maturity and expectation to balance the learning and the engagement as an employee. And I think, I don't know if you want to just allude to that just a little bit before we conclude, Lara, but I think that's something to be aware of. That's not an easy option, is it?
And no, and in accounting, it's not easy at all, because actually what you will be expected to do is work full time and study on top of that. You're not going to be in an office filled with other 18, 19-year-olds. You'll be working you might be the only 18, 19-year-old. We might be lucky and there might be 4 or 5 of you. So it's a very, very different experience to going to university or to getting into one of those big accounting firms where you've got a lot of young, but people that are more similar to you. So I have had a student join the degree that started on an apprenticeship and absolutely hated the apprenticeship because they were the only young person there. But equally, I have had people on the degree who are struggling financially, and I completely understand that as well. So it's a massive decision to be making. And I think that's why I do love my degree, because it's kind of giving the opportunity to do both, earn while you learn. And have that experience of university. The other brilliant thing about it is you get a job at PwC at the end. So
Yeah.
again, I'll just go back to my personal experience. My girls now are finishing uni and applying for jobs, and it's stressful. And well, what was the point in going to uni? I can't get a job. Well, actually, in some of these degrees, you're pretty likely to get a
To
good
get,
job.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's really useful. And the forensic accounting is also a very interesting sort of development, I think, of these courses as well.
Yeah.
And what is the sort of the job market like, the labour market information that we can pass on to students about the forensic accounting sort of prospects?
I think with forensic accounting, you need a good general degree, your professional qualification first. So normally you probably would join an accounting firm and then move into that kind of area. There are some universities, I'm trying to think, I think they might be Sheffield Hallam actually, that actually offers a degree in forensic accounting. So it is starting to become more mainstream and as a first port of call. But generally, you will do your main accounting qualification and then specialize in that afterwards quite often.
Super, that's great. If students don't have any further questions, I don't think there was anything else that we've been asked in advance, but I would encourage all students to go and attend an open day at University of Nottingham to look at these courses, and obviously to compare and contrast those with other universities. I think you would agree, I'm sure, Lara, that actually the day that students would spend is just critical to finding out what courses, as you said earlier, ally to their skills and their abilities, as well as their sort of career,
So
hopes.
don't just think, oh, I want to do an economics degree. It'll be the same anywhere. It's not. Look at what the options are. Look at what's being offered in those future years. Look at whether you're going to get a BA or a BSc, and really think about, are those modules that I'm interested in? Is that really where I want to be going? And do look in more detail than just the name of the degree.
That's super. And those open days, I know Faye's been putting things in the chat there for you. We will send round the recording, but also Lara's presentation, which obviously has the specifics about those courses that she's talked in detail about. And I would encourage you to go onto the website and sign up for the next available open day to go and have a look at Nottingham. It's a great city and it's a great university, but please do also just go and compare and contrast those. Lara, thank you so much for your presentation this evening, but also for answering those questions, because as I say, we'd already had a lot of interest in those in advance, and we're always very glad to be able to answer those, especially for any student who hasn't been able to attend this evening. Thank you very much indeed. And we wish you all the very best. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And students, do sign up for the Alternatives to University pathway if you're interested in looking at apprenticeships. And we'll see you on the next talk. All the very best.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.